one thing I've seen is like a lot of that stuff kind of backfire, right? If you kind of just blurt it out and not think about it, then it could be detrimental to you.
Welcome to this new episode of Marketing Made Me podcast, the most powerful marketing podcast in the universe. I'm Angie.
I'm Ari. Welcome.
Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be talking about public relations today. And, you know, public relations seems to inject itself in the industries you're in particular, being in the public. You are in the public relations industry in general, serving the community.
Correct, yes. Public relations is very crucial in my industry because it's a way to allow to get information out there, specifically enough to make sure that we kind of round out and understand the information we put out there before we put it out there, right? Because it has to be controlled, because it's almost like you put something up and there's ways to kind of, like, you blow a bubble up and you can pop it from different angles, right? So
right.
I think in public relations, it's a controlled way of putting the right information out that was very thoughtful.
Controlling the narrative for the
The
media.
narrative and strategically to the right people to get the message out. Yes.
Yeah, because city council, vice mayor, definitely in the politics, industry, always in the news.
Yeah.
Right? What do we hear all the news coverage about? It's what the politicians are doing. News is a great resource. It could be considered a form of advertising. Some say it's the best form of advertising because you are getting a third party to talk about you, and you're newsworthy.
Yeah.
You know, I think I mentioned Kim Kardashian last time. They are masters of manipulating the media and using PR to grow their businesses.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to them for figuring that formula out and figuring out what works. I guess it's that, I think we spoke about this word, that dopamine of like engaging in some type of information that you're attracted to, right? Like in news media, whether it's politics, whether it's just the weather, or whether it's what's going on today in our local area, like controlling the narrative is very important. Not controlling the narrative, but controlling the message that you send out is very important, because one thing I've seen is like a lot of that stuff kind of backfire, right? If you kind of just blurt it out and not think about it, then it could be detrimental to you. But at the same time, to the flip side, it could be good because you said or you did something. But it's super crazy when you think of PR. It's such an open-ended, like anything that we talk about, so open-ended. Once you really beat that, once you take the word and like dissect it, it's very interesting. Like all the topics that we talk about on how, like perception, right? It's all about optics and perception in anything we do.
Telling a story,
whether it's your email, text marketing, whether that's about public relations,
Instagram.
I feel like
people are going to judge you.
I feel like like representatives of your company or your business, the PR part is super crucial because they're going to get a certain message out. It's not just random emails.
It's very calculated.
Yep.
If you are good at PR.
Yep.
PR's public relations people get paid a shit ton of money.
Yeah, but also have to deal with a lot of like bullshit too. Like there's topics and things they don't want to deal with, or they have to be.
Or they have to spin stuff.
Empathetic about situations when they're not used to it, and like how do you make sure that you're not getting too deep in like comments versus just recognizing something and acknowledging something, right? So that's a challenge.
That's true. They do have to walk a line, media sensationalism versus journalism.
Yep. If it bleeds, it reads.
Yeah, is news. Yeah. Is any news source objective?
Yep.
Probably not, because they're all written by humans. And we all have our underlying opinions.
Yeah.
Can we truly write something that is very black and white and not based on our, what may it be, subconscious way of thinking? Because I mean, just media outlets just have such a bad rap now. CNN, their freaking grade has gone because they've got caught in not checking things. Fact checking, because they want to be the first to get the story out, and then they find out that not all the facts are true and they're spreading misinformation.
Well, I mean, it is what it is, and maybe who's to say that we don't know if that was a strategy. What was their strategy to kind of like the fact that you just dropped that name was probably their strategy.
I don't watch CNN.
Well, what I'm saying is I think everything in PR is very calculated.
Yeah.
Public relations is very calculated. Press releases are calculated. There's timings on things. There's ways in putting the right information and getting to the people what they want to hear at the time they want to hear it, or they need to hear it, right? So yeah, it's a little bit more, I think, when we talk about strategy and getting messaging out there. I think PR is kind of like that engine, or the car, or that engine that kind of goes in that direction of strategically aligning to get a certain message out there at a certain time to the right people. You know, I mean, we see this all the time in news. We see this all the time in viral media. We see this all the time in world news. We see this all the time in, I mean, gosh, LA, Long Beach, you know, it's crazy. Yeah.
Media has definitely taken over, you know, public opinion, influences public opinion heavily. Yeah, it depends who's writing the story. That's very true.
Yeah.
If you have a good writer on your team, that's super effective.
But to the flip side, when you strategically use PR, let's call it from the product angle or a business angle, you have a press release, you send it out to the right media outlets to get your message out there in hopes that people will call you. And then from there, you have your PR person kind of navigate through these relationships and being able to get more information out there to whether for sales or for marketing. And then now you start strategically putting the right information out there to where your brand or your message is getting to that next round of people or next round of level of exposure, right? So it's a challenge, right? It's a challenge because
PR, you should definitely have an expert to lead that for you. You know, it's a lot of it's about connections too.
Yep.
Usually people that are in PR, that's all they do.
Yeah.
You know, because they have the connections, the quick distribution channels. That's what you need to become a good PR person. If you don't have that, you're going to write a press release and it's not going to get published.
Yeah.
I have a couple of resources here, and one resource I want to talk about is a website called Help a Reporter Out. That is some way you can try and get your company or business or your personal brand in the news by reaching out to these journalists and providing an expert quote is what it is. You know, they need somebody to be that subject matter expert.
Yeah.
You can help validify their article by being that expert that steps in, kind of helps them do a pull quote. There they have a verified source and helps make their article a little bit more quality, I guess.
Oh, very cool.
Quality.
Yeah.
So yeah, check that out. Help a Reporter Out. We wrote a press release for this podcast. And I thought it was newsworthy because we have our co-host who's on city council, very much in the local city sector. So I'm like, this is newsworthy, you know, and so we wrote a press release on that. That was part of our PR strategy.
Great strategy. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But you could do that too. News outlets, they want content. Like we always talk about content. Newspapers are no different. If they can help not writing every single article and already have the article written for them and it has a good angle, which is kind of the harder part to figure out, because in order for it to be newsworthy, usually it has to have a good angle. It has to be, why would somebody be interested in reading this? It's not just going to be a generic press release like, hey, we just released a new pair of shoes. That's great, but that's probably more of a paid Instagram post versus, are the shoes that you just put out, for example, you know, for a good cause, proceeds are going to benefit third world disaster.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a good angle, you have a better chance of a journalist maybe picking it up and helping you, because you shouldn't have to pay for it. I don't think people charge for that.
I mean, gosh, I think we should talk also about like the evolution of like PR, like public relations, like how has it evolved in the last 10 years, you know, like when we first got in the game, how has public relations evolved? Like, I mean,
well, journalists need to write about stuff. They get paid to do their job. If you give them a good topic, they could write about you.
But at the same time, when you represent a company or brand or a person, or a entertainment person, like, I mean, do people write? I mean, I don't know. Do people write these structured press releases? Say, hey, so and so is breaking out in the scene, just gotten signed by Dr. Dre, yada yada yada. I mean, I don't know. Do they do still do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't see much press releases nowadays. I see a lot of a lot of bills, bills and legislation's what I see nowadays.
Oh, for press releases?
Well, yes, I see a lot of press releases, but they're more very thought through and calculated, and when they go out.
Yeah, a press release to me is kind of more boring and more generic.
So how does the evolution of public relations person, or the act of being a public relation PR person to now, right?
Well, you would get so to me, outside of or beyond just writing a press release, which would be to me is like the starting point of getting into PR. That's just one piece. To get more in depth and complex, that's when a newspaper, for example, would want to interview you. You'd get an interview, you get an article written. They want to, do a story on your life. They, like Architecture Magazine, they want to talk about your lifestyle or whatever. Yeah. There's publications just dedicated to stuff like that. People are interested in stuff like that.
Across the board for print and web, right? Because obviously there's your famous sites like Newsbreak, or what are the famous ones? Cheese. Have you got on Cheese lately?
No, I've never heard of that.
Cheddar Cheese. You guys ever seen that on? Oh man, that's like my new news place.
Really?
A little different style news. It's like kind of like Vice TV, like 6 or 7 years ago. It's called Cheddar Cheese TV.
Oh, okay.
That I didn't like. I also get the news breaks, but I like the Cheddar Cheese one. It's kind of funny. Yeah. But it's getting kind of, sometimes they don't have enough content creation.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what, I'm more about blogs, I guess. So I feel like it's becoming less and less like AP style, like.
You say AP?
AP.
What's AP? Associated Press?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Like formal written
copy, I got it.
Yeah, as opposed to a blog post, which I feel like is what's kind of overtaken everything.
Well, I think they're more sharing emotionally on a blog, because I guess for AP, you're more of like speaking to the masses. In a blog, as much as you're speaking to the masses, it seems like they're very more in tune with who you are, what the subject you're talking about, and what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So I think you can be a little bit more emotional or more very connecting in that factor, right?
For sure. So if you can get a publication to write about you, interview you, it's great PR. That's an asset. That's in addition to the marketing you're doing. And like I said in the beginning, probably the most powerful marketing you can do is getting into the news. It gives you credibility. I know somebody that was on the financial show Squawk Box. Yeah. He got a lot of, I don't want to say clout, but he got a lot of credibility after being on that show. Yeah. And he used that. He used that clip. That clip's everywhere. It's on his Facebook cover. It's on his profile. It's part of his brand now. Yeah. We fortunately have our own media outlet, you could say. Yeah. Marketing made me. We're all kind of like mini news reporters in a way.
Information sharer.
Exactly. Info sharer. Definitely. I don't write very much. I'm more of like a video person, but public relations I feel like is just more so in the avenue of being in the news, what you're reading online from. So
how do you rate or measure public relations?
On the scale, like how the value
just in general,
of it?
like how if I'm spending like
I think it's a 10.
$100,000 on a PR person, like how do I?
Oh yeah, it's top tier.
No, I get it, but like what's the data analytics you run against that to kind of make sure you're spending dollars in the right, like, so if you, let's say here, when you look at it from a company perspective, you have $1 million. You're going to break this up. Your CEO is like 300, yada, 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 and your PR person is like 100. How do you figure out the effort that your PR person is putting in and monetizing that to make sure that they're the right person, right?
I mean, I think it's a return on investment.
I get that part, but like
ROI.
yeah, but what's the ROI on PR?
I mean, you won't tell, and you won't be able to tell. It's like a case by case, I think. I mean, like I said, in general, to me, it's the highest form you could do.
So like for you, if you hired a PR person for like $100,000 a year, how would you justify or monetize that pay and find and what data would you be looking for?
I think the more business deals that would come my way would be how I would gauge it.
So brand exposure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just one. That's it. I'm curious.
Yeah, opportunities. I'm
so all in on opportunities, all in on networks, all in on like
yeah.
just bringing.
I don't sell like a product, right? I don't have like a brand of
service.
shoes. All right, I'm service based.
You're service based, so you're looking at more of that. PRing for you would be to bring you more opportunities, to obviously make more money, and okay, I get it.
Yeah,
That's a tough one, man. Like there's so much. There's a lot of.
I mean, you're always in the news. Do you gauge it? Do you see any difference?
Still the same person.
So, but do you think that it's helping in any way, benefiting?
I don't know. I don't monetize it. I mean, I guess if someone were to walk up to me that I don't know, says, "Hey, what's up, Ari?"
I saw you in the newspaper.
Newspaper. I saw the clip. A funny story. A really good friend of mine says one day they're at their house and her mom just started screaming, "Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!" And a friend runs in there and then, "Oh my God! Ari's on TV. He's on the Filipino channel, right? Oh, it's Ari." And she's like, "Oh my God!" But I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to monetize that. You know, my job is to make sure this community is protected in this. So I play at these regional and local levels to make sure that I keep all this good, right? So I don't monetize it. I don't look at it from that perspective. I guess me as a person, as a brand, and as value to this community, that's probably how I monetize it. Being everywhere, and I don't send press releases or, you know, as a group we did this. I'm part of the group, but for me, you know, I'm very trying to stay hands-on, right?
Right. So you're not the one sending out requests, right, for the press. They're just being written. That's part of politics.
Correct. Yes.
So yeah, I think it very much is hand in hand with politics. You know.
Yeah. No.
Politics is most of what the news covers. It seems.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is. It is, but I don't know. It's public relations to me is just it's like anything, man. It's so much when you start pulling it apart. Like public relations is kind of like everything from networking circles to focusing on your strategic brand marketing to controlling information that's going out to putting fires out, right? You know,
damage control.
Damage control, you know, like, I mean, public relations is amazing, but it's also detrimental to you if you don't address it correctly, right? Whether it's for you or your company. So I don't know, it's a lot. You know?
Yeah, I mean, there's even like defamation cases, right? You know.
But I guess we're not saying here is, hey, we're talking about the word public relations. We're not saying you have to hire a public relations person, right?
No.
Yeah, what we're saying
totally
here is
not.
this is our experience within this world, and maybe you as a brand or as an entrepreneur should look into this,
right?
And maybe kind of like look at angles of it.
Exactly.
That's what we should look at here.
Exactly. And a good place to start would be to help
a reporter.
Exactly. And try and think of the angle. It's always a value, right? It's
Correct.
always the value add. What your value proposition. So. You know, that's kind of the harder part, to figure out what would make it newsworthy in a sense, because like I said, just writing something saying we're releasing a new pair of shoes is not very newsworthy. Nobody's going to just post that in a credible news publication.
Well, it depends. If you're a sneakerhead, if it goes into like Hypebeast or something.
True.
Or, you know, brands like Stussy, Supreme or something.
Very true.
You know, within that collective.
But let's say
fans.
Let's talk mass media then.
Yeah, that's probably just a niche of like, you know, people that are into shoes. I get it.
Yeah. So PR definitely a good thing to put into your marketing strategy if you can figure out what is worth talking about that your business is doing, and you know that might be hard for you to figure out. Some people are really good at, you know, mingling and knowing what their audience is looking for and storytelling, right? Because a lot of marketing also comes down to storytelling. That is the best way to sell something. That's how they say you sell, is through people's emotions.
Yeah.
You know, not by blatant, like, here's a good deal and you get 50% off today. Yes, that will sell, but that's more of like a limited purchase impulse buy. If you're trying to build a brand, storytelling, you know, we mentioned Gary Vee. He's the best at storytelling.
It's pretty good.
You know, really good at storytelling, and so he's like $1 billion business now.
Yeah.
If you have a good writer on your team, highly valuable.
For anybody.
Yeah.
I can't write for shit.
Yeah.
I make mistakes on my text messages.
I know, our press release, I mean, we edited it like 15 times.
Well, I mean, that's the process of that, right?
Yeah, and I'm so happy we did.
All eyes on deck, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and there's templates. So if you don't know where to start, look up a press release template, and you just fill in the blank. And it's like, you know, topic, you know, date, quote, grab a quote from a subject matter expert. You could create your own press release, find some local publications in your area, send it to them. You might get lucky.
Get in the game. Get in the game.
Yeah, somebody might want to write about you.
Yeah, or you might attract somebody new.
Let us know if you have written, or if you're in the news. Are you already newsworthy?
Come be a guest on the show.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll do PR 101.
Yeah, come school us on PR.
Intro, body, conclusion. What do you want to do? And then, yeah, we'd love to get some PR people in here to kind of strategically help somebody understand the whole part of, because it's not rocket science, right?
No, you know, it really isn't. It's more about connections.
Yeah, it's more about understanding everything to make sure, like, it's like cooking this 5 Michelin star meal, but
with the recipe.
Yeah, with the recipe,
Yeah.
but you can only do so much, right? So, like, as a business owner, as a person, someone that was trying to launch something, at least you know everything, and then you know that when you're putting information, you're following the right steps, and then maybe the right information is getting out there.
Yes.
Not
and
rocket science.
to get some ideas, again, go to Help a Reporter Out. You know, they're not sponsoring.
Haro, H-A-R-O.
Yes, they're not sponsoring us today. SoCalSource.com is sponsoring us.
Amazing site you need to go to. Sign up.
And another good place to go, I think we talked about this at the last episode, another website is answerthepublic.com.
Yep.
If you want to write more, if you're a great writer, go to answerthepublic.com, put in your subject. For example, we went there today and typed in public relations, and it gives you all these questions on the most commonly asked question about that subject. So it can spark an idea, giving you something to talk about. See if you can find a correlation with your business or your product and integrate the two. And there you go. You got an article and you can shoot it out. Maybe you'll become famous.
Like, follow, subscribe.
Oh, I already said it. I think. Episode 10, finally.
SoCal made me.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Public Relations. If you want to know more, please follow us on Instagram.
Hit us up. We want to hear from you.
Yes, and don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter in the comments below. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.